The universe never planned for humans to be heroes. It expected them to break first. On the frozen moon of Cryos 9, death came quietly. Not with explosions. Not with screams. But with cold so deep it erased hope itself. 2 alien sisters lay buried beneath the snow. Unable to move. Unable to call for help. Their bodies shutting down 1 slow second at a time. And somewhere above them, a single human was about to make a choice. That would shake entire civilizations. Elias Ward never wanted to be on Cryos 9. The moon was a corporate graveyard. A place where mining profits mattered more than lives. A place abandoned by empires once the resources ran thin. Elias was a systems engineer. Human. Disposable. He maintained power relays and atmospheric anchors that barely functioned. Working contracts no one else accepted. Silence was the reason he stayed. After the orbital riots on Earth. After watching cities burn and leaders lie. Elias had learned something important. Out here, no one pretended to care. The storm warning came late. White clouds rolled across the ice plains. Static crackling through his helmet comms. Then, a signal. Weak. Flickering. Almost gone. 2 life signs. Elias froze. Protocol said report it. Wait for rescue drones. Wait for approval. But Cryos 9 had no rescue drones. No fast approvals. Only paperwork that arrived after funerals. He checked the scanner again. 2. Buried. Losing heat fast. Elias turned off the safety lock on his suit. Damn it, he whispered. And walked straight into the storm. The wind fought him every step. Snow cut across the ice like knives. Visibility dropped to nothing. The scanner pulsed again. Closer. Then he saw it. A collapsed transport ridge. Metal twisted like broken bones. Ice piled high, freshly fallen. An avalanche. Elias dropped to his knees and activated the thermal cutter. The machine screamed as it burned through frozen debris. Minutes passed. His arms shook. His oxygen dropped. Then, a hollow sound. Hull plating. He tore away the last layer and forced open a crushed access hatch. Cold exploded outward. Inside the wreckage, 2 figures lay tangled together. Alien. Female. Their skin shimmered faintly beneath torn survival suits. Tones of silver and pale violet dulled by frostbite. One sister had wrapped herself around the other. Her back exposed. Her arms locked tight. Protecting her. Even while dying. Elias didn't think. He moved. He pulled emergency heat packs from his kit. Pressed them against their chests, their necks, their cores. Their vitals were barely there. Heartbeats slow. Dangerously slow. Stay with me, he muttered. Even though they couldn't hear him. He lifted the smaller sister first. She was lighter than expected. Too light. The storm nearly knocked him over. Step by step. Through pain. Through numb legs. Through ice that wanted him dead just as badly. By the time he reached his shelter, Elias collapsed inside with them. The doors sealed. Warmth rushed in. And life refused to give up. Hours passed. The sisters were wrapped in every blanket he owned. Connected to portable heaters and oxygen lines. Elias sat on the floor. Watching the monitors. Something wasn't right. Their body temperatures were rising too fast. Their neural activity spiked in strange, synchronized patterns. He scanned their biology. The data didn't match standard recovery. It matched something forbidden. Something old. A resonance response. Alien legends. Survival myths. Bonding through rescue. Elias swore under his breath. Not real, he said. The universe disagreed. The younger sister stirred first. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing faintly in the dim light. They locked onto him instantly. Not with fear. With recognition. You came back, she whispered. Elias stiffened. What? She struggled to sit up, her breath uneven. He supported her gently. You pulled us from the ice, she said. I felt it. Her gaze never left his face. My name is Scylla, she continued. My sister is Ireth. He nodded, still processing. You're safe, he said. For now. Scylla swallowed. Then her expression changed. Softened. Focused. Something deeper than gratitude. Our species does not survive cold worlds alone, she said quietly. When death is near, our bodies choose. Elias felt his chest tighten. Choose what? Who keeps us alive? At that moment, the older sister's fingers twitched. Ireth breathed in sharply, awakening with a gasp. Her eyes snapped open, and she saw him. The reaction was instant. Her heart rate surged. Her neural patterns synchronized with Scylla's. The monitors beeped wildly. Elias stepped back. Hey, easy, I'm just. You are human, Ireth said slowly. But you feel anchored. Scylla nodded. Our lives are tied to yours now. The words hung heavy in the air. Outside, the storm howled louder. Elias looked at the two sisters. Rescued by chance. Changed by instinct. Bonded by something no contract had prepared him for. He had saved them. And unknowingly, he had just become the center of a conflict. That would test what humanity truly was. Because when aliens bond, they don't do it quietly. And when humans are chosen, the galaxy pays attention. The storm didn't end. It only changed shape. Outside, the snow kept falling like a slow burial. Inside, the shelter felt smaller with every breath the sisters took. Elias tried to act normal. He offered water. He adjusted heat levels. He checked the oxygen scrubbers like he always did. But nothing was normal now. Scylla watched him like she was afraid he might vanish. Ireth watched him like she was deciding what kind of danger he truly was. And both of them kept drifting closer. Not because they wanted to trap him. Because their bodies demanded safety the way lungs demanded air. Elias didn't like that. Not because he disliked them. Because he understood what it meant when biology forced a choice. He had seen forced choices before. He had lived through them. The riots on Earth had taught him one rule. When someone tries to control what you can choose, they can control what you become. He wasn't going to become anyone's cage. Not theirs. Not the corporations. Not the galaxies. So he set boundaries the only way he knew how. With honesty. You said your bodies choose, Elias said, keeping his voice steady. But I'm not your owner. I'm not your commander. I'm not a solution. Scylla's lips parted like she wanted to protest. Then she didn't. Her shoulders dipped. I know, she whispered. It's not obedience. It's direction. Iretha's voice came out colder. And direction can still become chains, human. Elias nodded slowly. Exactly. For a moment, there was silence except for the shelter's vents. Then Scylla took a breath, careful, like she was walking across thin ice. Our family sent us to Cryos 9 because it was supposed to be quiet, she said. A place no one watched. A place we could disappear. Elias frowned. Why would you need to disappear? Iretha's gaze sharpened. Because we are not miners. We are not workers. Scylla looked down at the blankets covering her arms. We are assets. Elias didn't like that word. Ireth continued, voice low. Our species is called the Vayari. We don't have an empire. We have contracts. We survive by being useful to empires. Scylla swallowed. And our bloodline is rare. Elias waited. Then Ireth said it. Resonance bond females. The phrase hit like a warning siren. Elias stared at the monitors again, as if the screen could explain why his gut had turned to stone. Someone hunts you, he said. Scylla nodded once. And if they find us? Ireth didn't finish. She didn't need to. Elias stood and walked to the comm console. The external uplink was still unstable, but the storm was thinning enough to let short bursts through. He tried again. Static. A faint carrier tone. A whisper of connection. Then a voice. Not human. Repeat. Unknown shelter signature detected in Sector 9. Identify immediately. Elias froze. Sila's head lifted sharply. Ireth sat straighter, eyes narrowing. The voice came again, more forceful. This is Coalition Security Vessel Rask-10. You are trespassing on regulated territory. Respond with identification or be boarded. Coalition. Elias felt cold spread across his spine. The Galactic Coalition didn't patrol moons like this unless something valuable was here. Or someone. He killed the MIC and turned to the sisters. Did you trigger something? He asked. Iretha's expression tightened. Our transport had a beacon. When it crushed, it likely pulsed a distress signature across old channels. And that's why they're here, Sila whispered. Elias looked toward the sealed door like he could see the sky through metal. If Coalition forces boarded the shelter, they'd scan life signs. They'd see 2 Vayari resonance females. And then Elias wouldn't be a rescuer anymore. He'd be a witness. A liability. Or worse. A prize. He forced himself to breathe. Okay, he said. We do this smart. Ireth blinked. You have a plan. Elias gave a dry, humorless smile. I fix broken systems for a living. This is just another one. He moved fast. He pulled open a maintenance panel behind the comm console and exposed the power routing grid. If I overload the external signature modulators, he muttered, I can make this shelter look abandoned. Dead. No heat. No life. Sila's eyes widened. But we are alive. Elias nodded. That's why you stay low. No movement. No heat spikes. Iretha's voice turned sharp. And if they board anyway? Elias glanced at his tool rack. He wasn't a soldier. He didn't have a rifle. He didn't have armor. He had cutters, welders, and electrical charge packs. But humans had survived worse with less. If they board, Elias said, they won't find what they're looking for. Sila looked terrified. Elias. He paused at her saying his name. Not forced. Not instinctive. Soft. He pushed that feeling away. Trust me, he said. Then he rewired the shelter. Not the safe way. Not the corporate-approved way. The human way. He diverted power from external heating into the signature modulators, fed it through an induction coil, and set a timed pulse. The shelter lights dimmed. The internal heaters stayed low. To the outside scanners, the structure would look frozen and empty. A dead shell in a dead zone. Elias held his breath and reactivated the comm receiver, listening. The Coalition voice returned, annoyed. Shelter signature remains unregistered. Life signs unclear. Prepare drone scan. A soft whine echoed through the air outside. Something mechanical moving through the storm. Elias clenched his jaw. A drone. If it scanned through walls, the trick might fail. He grabbed a coil cable and snapped it into the emergency venting system. Then he triggered the pulse. The shelter shuddered. A wave of electromagnetic interference burst outward like a silent scream. Outside, the drone's whine stuttered, then cut off. Elias exhaled through his teeth. Sila's eyes were wide with shock. Iretha's expression shifted. For the first time, she didn't look at him like a stranger. She looked at him like a force. The comm voice returned, suddenly cautious. Drone signal lost. Sector 9 interference spike detected. Then, after a pause, mark this location as unstable. Withdraw for now. Report anomaly to Central. Elias didn't move until the carrier tone faded. Silence returned. The storm returned. But the immediate threat was gone. Sila let out a broken breath and leaned forward, almost collapsing. Elias caught her gently. Her skin was warm now, too warm, her eyes glossy with exhaustion. She looked up at him. "You risked yourself," she whispered. "For us." Elias swallowed. "I risked myself because it was right," he said. Iretha's voice came quieter than before. "You didn't just hide us. You fought with your mind." Elias released Scylla slowly and stood. "This was just a patrol," he said. "If they report what happened, real hunters will come." Scylla's face went pale. Iretha's jaw tightened. Elias walked to the storage locker and began pulling out supplies. Food packs. Portable heaters. Spare oxygen filters. A worn travel cloak. Scylla stared. "You're leaving." Elias nodded. "We are leaving," he corrected. Ireth leaned forward. "To where?" Elias looked at the map projected on the wall. A mining rail line cut across the ice plains, half buried but still powered in sections. It led to an old relay station, abandoned officially, but still connected to deep space channels. A place where you could send a message without being traced easily. A place where humans used to smuggle information during corporate wars. Elias tapped the map. "Station Greyhook," he said. Scylla whispered the name like it was a ghost. "That station is dead." Elias's eyes hardened. "Then it's the perfect place for 3 people the galaxy isn't supposed to find." He looked at the sisters. This wasn't romance. Not yet. Not like stories. This was survival turning into alliance. And humans were dangerous when survival became personal. Scylla stood shakily, pulling the blankets tighter. Ireth rose too, slower, but steady. The older sister met Elias's eyes. "If we go with you," she said, "we might bring war to your life." Elias didn't flinch. "My life was quiet," he said. "Quiet almost killed you." Then he opened the supply kit and handed each sister a heat cell band. "We move before the next scan," he said. "And if the coalition thinks this moon is a graveyard." He paused, eyes narrowing with a human kind of confidence. "Let's make sure they keep believing it." The shelter door hissed as it unsealed. Cold air flooded in like a warning. 3 figures stepped into the storm. And far above Cryos 9, in the dark where empires watched and calculated, a report was already being filed. 2 resonance females missing. A human signature present. A sector anomaly that should not exist. And when powerful beings smelled a mystery, they didn't let it go. Not until they owned it. Not until they broke it. But they had never tried to break a human. Who had decided someone mattered more than safety. And they were about to learn. Why the galaxy should have feared that decision. The cold outside was sharper than before. Not because the storm had worsened. But because Elias knew something was hunting them now. The 3 of them moved in silence. Snow swallowed sound. The moonlight reflected off endless white, turning distance into illusion. Cryos 9 didn't care who lived or died on it. Scylla walked close to Elias, her steps uneven but determined. Ireth followed half a pace behind, scanning the horizon with practiced awareness. They had not asked why he was helping them anymore. They already knew. The rail line emerged from the snow like a scar. Old. Rusted. Forgotten by Prophet. Elias knelt and brushed ice from the control node, fingers moving quickly despite the cold. "Still powered," he muttered. "Barely." Scylla looked around nervously. "Coalition sensors may sweep this route." Elias smirked faintly. "That's because the Coalition trusts automation too much." He rerouted the rail's power draw into a harmonic loop, creating dozens of false heat signatures scattered across kilometers. To scanners, it would look like wildlife. Debris. Noise. Humans called it clutter. Aliens called it inefficiency. The rail hummed to life. As they stepped onto the moving platform, Scylla nearly stumbled. Elias caught her without thinking. Her breath hitched. Not fear. Relief. Ireth noticed. She said nothing. But something in her eyes shifted. The ride to Station Greyhook took longer than expected. The rail slowed in damaged sections, forcing Elias to manually restart systems twice. Every delay tightened the invisible clock around them. When Greyhook finally appeared, it looked exactly like the maps promised. Dead. A skeletal tower of steel and composite alloy, half buried in ice. No lights. No signals. Sila swallowed. This place feels wrong. Elias nodded. It should. They slipped inside through a maintenance hatch. Darkness greeted them. Then Elias powered up a local node. Dim amber lights flickered on, revealing dust, frost, and long-abandoned terminals. Ireth exhaled slowly. "This station still breathes," she said. "Barely." Elias didn't waste time. He moved to the core console and began reconnecting ancient transmitters, bypassing encryption layers that hadn't been updated in decades. Human systems aged differently than alien ones. Aliens upgraded. Humans layered. Old paths remained hidden under new ones. Sila watched him work, or replacing exhaustion. "You learned this on Earth?" she asked softly. Elias didn't look up. "I learned it when corporations tried to silence whistleblowers," he said. "When survival depended on staying unseen." Ireth stepped closer. "You hide like prey," she said. "But you strike like predators." Elias paused. "Humans were prey for a long time," he replied. "We learned." The transmission went out in short bursts. Encrypted. Fragmented. Untraceable. A message sent not to governments, but to people. Independent traders. Free captains. Outlaw scientists. Anyone who distrusted the coalition. Anyone who remembered humans. Sila frowned as she read the outgoing code. "You are telling them about us." "Yes," Elias said. "That puts us in danger." "Yes," he repeated. Ireth studied him closely. "Then why do it?" Elias finally turned. "Because hiding only delays extinction," he said. "Exposure creates witnesses." Sila felt it then. The shift. This wasn't a man reacting anymore. This was a human choosing a side. The response came faster than expected. Not words. Coordinates. Multiple. Someone had been waiting for a reason. Elias leaned back, exhausted but alert. "They heard us." Sila sat beside him, her shoulder brushing his arm. Her warmth was constant now. Stabilized. Ireth noticed the readings on the console. Their resonance levels were leveling. Not escalating. Not consuming. Balancing. She frowned. "That should not be happening," she murmured. Elias looked up. "What shouldn't?" "Our bond," Ireth said slowly. "It is stabilizing without proximity enforcement." Sila blinked. "That means—" "It means," Ireth continued, "that your presence is not dominating our biology." Elias stiffened. "And that's bad." "No," Ireth said quietly. "It is unheard of." She looked at him with something close to reverence. "You are not a trigger," she said. "You are an anchor." Sila smiled faintly, eyes shining. "Our bodies chose you," she whispered. "But you gave us a choice back." Elias looked away. He wasn't ready to carry that weight. The station trembled. Subtle. Deep. Elias's head snapped up. "That wasn't structural," he said. The sensors flared to life. Multiple warp signatures. Coalition. They had traced something. Sila's breath caught. "They found us." Ireth straightened, calm in a way that frightened Elias. "Then we do not run anymore," she said. Elias stared at her. "We can't fight a coalition vessel." She met his eyes. "No," she agreed. "But you can embarrass it." Elias blinked. Then smiled. That was a very human idea. He rerouted the station's ancient defense grid. It wasn't designed to destroy ships. Only to jam, confuse, misdirect. Aliens had abandoned it as useless. Humans never threw away tools. As the coalition cruiser dropped from warp, its sensors screamed nonsense. False mass readings. Phantom fleets. Gravity distortions that didn't exist. The ship hesitated. That hesitation was everything. Elias sent the final transmission. Not a threat. A truth. Humans are involved. Across the galaxy, ears turned. Eyes widened. Because humans weren't supposed to be here. Not like this. Not choosing sides. Not protecting alien assets the Coalition wanted to own. The cruiser fired probing scans. Nothing locked. Nothing stable. The captain would withdraw. They always did when the data stopped making sense. And he did. The warp signature vanished. Silence returned. Scylla laughed softly, disbelieving. Ireth exhaled, tension finally easing. Elias slumped into the chair. That was too close, he said. Scylla looked at him with open emotion now. You scared them. Elias shook his head. No, he said. I reminded them. He looked at both sisters. This galaxy forgot what humans do when someone tries to take what we care about. Outside the station, the storm continued. But inside, something new was forming. Not a bond of biology. Not a contract of survival. Something stronger. A promise. And the Coalition had just learned the first lesson of a very expensive mistake. The galaxy did not react loudly. It reacted carefully. Messages moved through back channels. Old human codes resurfaced. Names that had vanished from Coalition records appeared again. Elias felt it before he saw it. The silence had changed. Station Greyhook no longer felt abandoned. It felt watched. Not hunted. Observed. Scylla sensed it too. She stood near the viewport, arms folded, eyes unfocused. When many minds turn toward the same point, she said softly, the universe tightens. Ireth nodded. Interest is more dangerous than pursuit. Elias didn't argue. He was already working. He had reopened 3 dormant arrays and powered a 4th using a trick he'd learned on Earth, routing energy through redundant safety loops the designers never imagined anyone would touch. Human engineers always assumed someone would try something stupid. That assumption saved lives. A signal arrived. Not Coalition. Human. Old format. Civilian encryption. The message was short. You made noise. That takes courage. You'll need help. Coordinates followed. Scylla leaned closer to the screen. Who sent this? Elias smiled faintly. Someone who remembers who we are. Before they could respond, the station sensors flared again. This time, the warp signatures were wrong. Too smooth. Too clean. Private ships. Fast. Iretha's eyes narrowed. Not Coalition. Elias's smile faded. No. Worse. The ships dropped from warp without ceremony. 3 vessels. Human-built hulls modified with alien tech. Independent flags. No allegiance. Free captains. Smugglers. Runners. People who lived in the space's empires pretended didn't exist. A channel opened. A woman's voice came through, calm, amused. Well, I'll be damned, she said. A human maintenance tech starting an interstellar incident. Elias exhaled. Captain Myra Halden, he said. I hoped you were still alive. Rumors of humanity's spine resurfacing tend to get my attention, she replied. Mind explaining why the Coalition is suddenly scrambling over a frozen rock? Elias looked at Scylla. Then at Ireth. He didn't speak for them. Scylla stepped forward. We were hunted, she said clearly. We were rescued. And now we refuse to be owned. Silence followed. Then Myra laughed, not mockingly, but with something like pride. Still sounds like humans, she said. Welcome to the mess. The meeting happened aboard Myra's ship. Warm. Crowded. Alive. Scylla flinched at first, overwhelmed by voices and movement. Ireth stayed alert, protective. Elias watched both of them closely. The resonance readings were stable. No spikes. No compulsion. Choice. Myra studied the sisters openly. Coalition will never let this go, she said. Resonance females represent leverage, power, control. Ireth met her gaze. Then they will have to learn what refusal looks like. Myra nodded slowly. You'll need protection. Visibility. Allies. Elias spoke then. They're not assets, he said. They are people. The room quieted. Some humans smiled. Others looked thoughtful. Myra tilted her head. That distinction matters more than you know. She brought up a star map. Word spreading, she continued. Other species are watching. Some quietly cheering. Some scared. Scylla frowned. Why scared? Because if humans start choosing people over profit, Myra said, the whole system breaks. Elias felt a strange calm settle over him. For the first time in years. He wasn't just surviving. He was standing. The coalition's response came hours later. A broadcast. Formal. Cold. They demanded the return of biological property. They offered compensation. Threatened sanctions. Myra didn't even hesitate. She patched the message through every open channel. Elias watched Scylla and Ireth as the words echoed. Neither looked afraid. Ireth stepped forward. Send this back, she said. Elias hesitated. Are you sure? She nodded. For the first time, she said, my voice is mine. The transmission went out. Simple. Clear. We are not property. We were saved by a human who asked nothing in return. We choose our future. Across dozens of systems, the message spread. Species that had suffered quietly felt something shift. Humans felt it too. A memory awakening. The coalition did not respond immediately. They never did when uncertainty crept in. Instead, something unexpected happened. Another signal. Another species. Then another. Statements of support. Offers of asylum. Questions. Elias stood beside the sisters as the galaxy changed around them. Scylla looked at him, eyes steady. When you found us, she said, we thought survival was the goal. Elias met her gaze. And now? Now, she said, survival feels small. Ireth placed a hand on Scylla's shoulder. We will not hide, she said. But we will not burn ourselves for symbols either. She turned to Elias. You gave us choice. That binds us more strongly than instinct ever could. Elias swallowed. He had never wanted to matter this much. But he would not run. Myra approached quietly. You know what happens next, she said. Elias nodded. Coalition will push harder. And humans. Elias looked at the stars beyond the viewport. They'll remember, he said. Who we were before fear taught us to kneel. Myra smiled. Good, she said. Because the galaxy just realized something. She leaned closer. That human kindness isn't weakness. Scylla felt it too. The resonance wasn't pulling anymore. It was steady. Shared. Not biology. Belief. And belief, once awakened, was impossible to freeze. The coalition did not retreat. It consolidated. Across 3 sectors, fleets repositioned. Trade lanes tightened. Diplomatic channels went silent. When empires grow quiet, it means they are preparing to speak with force. Elias stood on the command deck of Myra Halden's ship, watching the tactical overlay bloom with red markers. That's more ships than needed for retrieval, he said. Myra folded her arms. They're not here for the sisters anymore. Scylla looked up. Then why come? Myra answered softly. To remind the galaxy who is allowed to choose. Ireth felt the truth of it settle into her bones. This was never about resonance females. Not really. It was about control. And control hates examples. The coalition broadcast arrived without warning. A declaration. They accused humans of destabilization, of interference, of inciting rebellion. They offered one final demand: surrender the sisters, publicly renounce human involvement, return to silence. Elias listened without blinking. When it ended, the bridge was quiet. Every eye turned toward him. Not because he was in charge, but because he had started this. Elias took a breath. "I won't surrender them," he said. "And I won't ask them to hide." Scylla stepped forward immediately. "We stand with him," she said. Ireth nodded. Not because of bond. Not because of instinct. She met the camera lens directly. But because he showed us something rare. The feed was still open. The coalition was still listening. He showed us what respect looks like. Myra didn't smile. She didn't need to. "Then it's time," she said. She tapped the console. Across the region, ships decloaked. Not warships. Civilian hulls. Exploration vessels. Independent traders. Humans. Not united by a flag. United by memory. The coalition hesitated. They had planned for resistance. They had not planned for solidarity. Elias felt something tighten in his chest. This wasn't a battle. This was a line being drawn. The first coalition cruiser advanced. Weapons powered. A show of dominance. Elias leaned forward and opened a channel. "Stop," he said. The word was simple. Human. The cruiser did not stop. So Elias changed tactics. He sent data. Unfiltered. Recorded. Footage of the rescue. Vitals. The sisters' testimony. The coalition's demands. He sent it everywhere. Public networks. Private relays. Species archives. Truth travels faster than threats. The cruiser slowed. Then another. Across the fleet, hesitation spread like a fracture. Scylla felt it. "Their unity is cracking," she whispered. Ireth nodded. "They were never strong," she said. "Only feared." The coalition flagship finally responded. A voice older than the system itself. "You are a single human," it said. "You cannot change order." Elias smiled. "I didn't," he replied. "I changed people." He gestured to the sisters. They chose not to be owned. He gestured to the ships. And humans chose to stand. The silence that followed was different. Not tactical. Existential. The coalition withdrew. Not in defeat. In calculation. They would return someday. But not today. Not while the galaxy was watching. The crisis ended without a shot fired. That terrified empires more than any war ever could. Weeks later, the noise faded. Trade resumed. Borders loosened. And something subtle shifted. Species spoke more freely. Contracts were questioned. Rescue protocols changed. Small things. Dangerous things. Elias stood on a quiet observation deck as Scylla and Ireth looked out at the stars. "What will you do now?" he asked. Scylla smiled. "We will travel," she said. "Learn. Speak." Ireth added, "And choose." They turned to him. "And you?" Elias thought of Cryos 9. The silence. The cold. "I'll keep fixing broken systems," he said. Scylla laughed softly. "You already are." The resonance between them was gone. No pull. No demand. Only something earned. Trust. As their ship prepared to part ways, Ireth paused. She placed a hand over her heart. "In our language," she said, "there is a word for those who change fate without seeking power." Elias raised an eyebrow. "What is it?" She smiled. "Human." The ships separated. The stars remained. And across the galaxy, a story began to circulate. Not about war. Not about dominance. But about a single human, who refused to walk away from two lives in the snow, and reminded the universe, That humanity's greatest strength was never its weapons. It was its choice to care. The end.